Hi guys, I'm going to be talking about the gear Alyson uses today for her concert photography. So the camera she uses is a Nikon D750. So that she says that this camera is the best thing that ever happened to her. It completely changed the game for her. So everyone says it's the person, not the camera. But if she's being honest, this camera has made life a lot easier. So the Nikon D750 is a full-frame camera which generally provides better image quality and color depth over crop sensor cameras. Now, she says generally because a lot of crop sensor cameras are starting to measure up to a full frame, but the D750 also does an incredible job at handling noise at high ISO. So that's the number one reason why she opted for the camera. On her old camera, the Nikon D5000, she could only go up to about ISO 1600 before she couldn't get usable photos. So on the D750, she can get usable photos at ISO 8000. And it makes a big difference, especially when you're photographing concerts in poorly lit venues. She doesn't really know how she survived before she had this camera. So the first lens we're going to talk about is the Tokina 16 to 28mm 2.8. So this is one of her favorite lenses. She takes 95% of her photos with. It has a maximum aperture of 2.8, which is perfect for concerts. The smaller the number, the more light the lens will let in. So having that helps you not have to bump your ISOs up so high when shooting shows. So it's a relatively cheap lens, and it gives really sharp images. And she's really glad she bought this lens instead of getting the Nikkor 14 to 24 2.8 because that lens is around triple the cost. So the next lens is a Nikon 50mm 1.8. So this is her second favorite most used lens. It's not often that she breaks out, but it does come in handy. So she keeps this lens around for venues that have really high stages, and when her Tokina would just get a bunch of monitors and such. She also likes to use it for drummer shots in smaller venues. Usually drummers, especially for the headlining bands, are at the very back of the stage, and sometimes on a drum riser. So it's hard to get a decent shot with a Tokina because you can't really see them. So with a smaller stage, the 50mm helps get you closer. She also breaks this out for portraits because it doesn't give you a lot of distortion like a wide-angle lens can. So the next and last lens is the Nikon 85mm 1.8. So she just bought this lens last year and doesn't use it nearly as much as she should, so she thinks. This lens has been great for giving her a new perspective with her photos. So she's never owned a lens that had a focal length beyond 50mm. And because of this, she's able to capture more intimate photos of musicians because of how close the focal length brings you to the musician. So this lens is also great for portraits, just like the 50mm. She loves to use this lens for drummers as well. Even at bigger venues, the lens allows her to capture some really nice shots of drummers. Despite not using it a lot, she's honestly captured some of her favorite photos with it. So yeah, that's all her gear that we were talking about today, and I hope you enjoyed this information.